A bit ago, I made a video called Preparing an Eberron Campaign, and that got quite a good bit of traction. What I want to do today is I want to show you how I might prepare a campaign in Wildemount. And I think if you kind of lean into this a little bit and compare and contrast that with the information in that Preparing an Eberron video, you'll have a bit of you'll have some ingredients. You'll have some things that you can work with to help you start preparing these campaigns. Now, here's sort of the catalyst behind this video. When I say I'm going to prepare a campaign in Wildemount, there's a few little things we need to talk about first. I am talking about a campaign, okay? If you are just looking to create something for a night or two of gameplay, 3-4 sessions, maybe run your characters from levels 1 through 4, and that's it, and you need to find a setting and a place for that, there are many, many adventures out there. There's some independent stuff that you can find on Drive-Thru RPG and D&D Beyond. What we're looking at here is how do you create, where do you begin creating something as large as an entire campaign, where your intention and your focus is to take your players from level 1 all the way to level 14, 15, right? All the way to the highest tiers of gameplay, where your intention is to run a story and a series of adventures for them that take place within a setting that will fill up 2 years of real life time, right? So we're talking about a massive campaign here. Now, there is no shortage of official worlds that you can work with. As I said, you already know, I showed a little bit of how I might prepare within the worlds of Eberron. You have Forgotten Realms that's been out there as an official setting. You have Wildemount. Of course, there's a bunch of independent things, some things that I've covered on reviews and spotlights, such as Dragon Grin, so on and so forth. And then, of course, you have your own world. Maybe you want to put a story within your place. But what we're going to talk about here is Wildemount. For those that don't know, a quick bit of history. Wildemount is the world, the setting that was created by Matthew Mercer and the group over at Critical Role. This is the place where they journey. When we're talking from a creative level, and I think what I'm trying to show with this is I really want to drive home in video format the process of being creative, the process of capturing any individual's creativity begins with work. You aren't often going to be able to just sit back and wait for what I like to think of motivation or the seeds of inspiration, or wait for that golden moment when everything is firing on all cylinders and you're just feeling creative. If you sit back as a creative individual and wait for that, your ideas are just going to constantly run through your head, and what's going to happen is you're going to keep searching and trying to weave your way through those ideas with the hopes of finding one that's going to help you be very creative for the day. And I believe strongly that that's the wrong way to go about it. The way you should go about wrangling in your creativity and getting something quantifiable and tangible to the table to bring in front of your players is to just start working on something. And in order to do that, you have to make choices. You have to pick, okay? You know, I always talk about finding an image, finding a picture. What I want to do first is I want to find something that is exciting to me, right? Where my mind is, not as a dungeon master, but just as a creative individual. I've been watching a lot of Gladiator, the movie with Russell Crowe. I want to show you how you can, I always talk about finding an image that starts to create bullet points for you based on the visuals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find, and I'm just going to type it in right here, Gladiator Arena. I'm going to go to Images. I'm going to select by large, but I'm going to say concept art because I want it to be a little more abstract. Right there, boom. Good enough. I did not ask for permission from this, so I apologize if I'm stepping on anyone's toes. I am not claiming ownership of this, okay? You guys can take a look at Nicolas Damjanov. He's the lead game artist at Nordeus. He is the creator of this, okay? So look at some more of his artwork. I'm just using this as sort of a reference point, okay? So let's use this one. We'll save it. Good enough, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Adobe InDesign first. Nectar of the gods, friends. Okay, I'm going to create a couple of pages. Let's say 3 pages. Facing doesn't matter, whatever. This is not intending to be a Adobe InDesign tutorial, but you know I like to bring things into InDesign because it starts to add a level of professionalism and polish to my creation, which when I bring it to my table, it makes my players kind of feel like I've invested some time and energy into this, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that picture in. It's not going to scale appropriately. It's going to be pretty small, but I'll keep bringing it up, okay? We're going to go view high quality so we can see it, all right? So let's see what we have here. We have this really cool picture, all right? I'm going to zoom in. There we have it, okay? Let's get off the line. So there it is, right? Pretty simple, okay? It makes sense. This looks like someplace Maximus would have fought. Maybe the creator, like I said, on ArtStation might have remembered watching Gladiator, and he's like, I'm going to create a 3D. I believe this is 3D art. I'm going to create a 3D version of a place where Maximus fought, right? You've got this thing down here. I don't know what that is. It kind of looks a little bit like it could be the area where, like, you know, the lions come out, or just the chained beasts beneath and below. We definitely want to take it and bring it into the D&D space. So we want to create a little bit more fantastical with this, right? Yes, you might have normal barbarian humanish folk fighting and in the stands, but how interesting would it be if you had like a group of Kenku? Remember the pod race in Phantom Menace, right? Where everyone's watching and you had just all of those aliens, or the cantina scene from A New Hope, the original Star Wars. You had that alien aspect. So try and start now thinking about D&D. Again, not Wildemount yet, but now I'm going to start thinking through who might be in the stands. Is there some sort of black market dealer or some roguish fellow, maybe a group of drow dealing with Kenku, and they're gambling on who's going to win the next gladiator fight. Perhaps it's not a lion that comes out of there and it's a bulette, right? Start making it fantastical, fun, and cool within the D&D space now, right? So that's how I can start getting in that headspace. But what I'm going to do is I'm just simply using this picture as a means to start creating some bullet points, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right here, and we're going to say, we're going to put it gambling, Kenku, and Thieves Guild lurk in the stands, trying to take advantage of any that can be taken advantage of. Basically, don't let your guard down, right? Let's make this a little smaller. I know I want to bullet this. So there's gambling Kenku and a Thieves Guild. And a Thieves Guild lurk in the stands, kind of wandering and roaming through, trying to take advantage of any that can be taken advantage of. So the audience members, right? Perhaps only 1 or 2 of your players are going to take part in the battle, and the rest of the group is going to be in the stands. But you're telling them, hey, you feel like this might not be a fair fight. Keep an eye on the folks in the stands. You know, what was it? Snape messing with the brooms in Quidditch in Harry Potter, right? Keep an eye on the folk in the stands and make sure that no wizardy folk tries to do anything shifty, you know, to influence my fight. So there's one bullet point. You know we're going to create 5, right? Bullet point number 2. What environmental things can be used to enhance the fight? I like it like that. Enhance, because you're making it cooler. We know there's going to be some kind of an encounter here, right? A gladiatorial arena-based combat. That's the sort of encounter that's going to take place. So we want to look at what environmental things. I can see fire here. Do the banners and the flags so I'm going to write that down. Do the banners represent something? Who is in charge of this place? All right. Fire got me to think of bullet point number 2. What comes out of the ground? All right. That was that area that I talked about in the beginning with a lion or some sort of bulette or some eggheads or something come out of the ground, right? So notice how I'm using the imagery to inform my bullet points. The bullet points start pulling from the image the things I might want to focus on, ways to start putting some walls around my creativity so I can funnel that creative energy into one thing that I can start creating, okay? And the last point involves coffee, but I don't see a whole lot else. Let me zoom into this a bit. Let's see what's here. Oh, I messed all that up. Ignore that. Okay, a lot of stone. I like it. Okay, I don't know where this came from, but I'm thinking Skyrim, right? Attack from above. What attacks? I don't know. But open air, I was thinking that this arena is sort of an opportune moment for another faction that's at war with the guys representing that banner. Fly in on, what is it? Dwarves with warhammers flying on griffins, or a dragon, right? There's some sort of an ambush that happens, right? I remember seeing this in Last Samurai, like during the show with Katsumoto, the leader of the samurai. That's when the ninjas attacked, right? So this is a vulnerable position where everyone is focused on what's happening within the arena, and a group attacks, right? So some sort of ambush, okay? And that's where I went with that. Okay. Now here's what we want to do. We are talking Wildemount. So we need to go to Wildemount, okay? I don't need this picture anymore. It's already set. It's set into InDesign, okay? You can simplify things by narrowing it down to following along the areas where Critical Role has already journeyed. But let's say you're starting from scratch. You are excited about Wildemount, but you don't know where you want to begin. One, I don't want to say elegant, but one sort of automatic way that you can figure out where you want to be is before you start this campaign, take your book, or if you have it on D&D Beyond, and read the whole thing cover to cover. That way you know all of the factions and societies. You know the difference between the Kryn dynasty and the Myriad. You know who's at war with each other. You know which of these locations and why they might put walls up or put patrols along those borders because they're fighting these groups. You know where refugees might sort of leave from and journey to. You know what sort of horrible, monstrous abominations are encroaching upon what lands, right? You know the setting and the environment. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to show you how I'm going to pick just based on the rule of cool, which is kind of what made me think about getting that gladiator picture. I was just thinking, what's cool right now? I'm in the very gladiator headspace. Let's find a piece of artwork that fits that. The rule of cool here is I'm just going to look at the names and what sounds most fun to me. Blightshore. I don't know why. I really don't know a lot about it. I've watched Critical Role. I watched more of Season 1 than Season 2. I'm familiar with, of course, and of course I have the book. I do not plan on, and I have not run anything in Wildemount as a setting yet. I may someday, but no plans right now in the immediate future, so I really don't know a lot about these places. I'm just going off of a name. Why does that name strike to me, and why does it stand out? Imagine you see a movie trailer, and it says, coming June 2021. Journey into the graying wildlands. And, you hear this epic sound effects and whatever. Well, what if it's next summer, journey to the lands of Blightshore. That sounds cool to me. That's a movie I might want to watch. Therefore, the name sold me, and that's all I need. Here's the thing. I'm sure you can find interesting adventure stories for your players within any of these places. So the goal is to try and pick something. If you start to remove yourself of the burden that you might pick the wrong thing and just assume, maybe I did pick the wrong thing. Whatever I pick, there may have been a better choice. But once you accept that, you stop thinking about the you stop getting paralyzed and you just choose something. So I'm going to pick Blightshore just because. Okay, here's a cool map. Very well done. Okay, looks like it's along right here, maybe. East of the Penumbra Range. We have Encanter's Rest. We have New Haxon, the Miscath Pit, Rothold. What else? Is Gorveles one of them? The Cauldron Sea, the mountain range itself. Let's see. Oh, right here, right? Because I'm using the efficiency of D&D Beyond, I can kind of click on these things. What's interesting within? What the hell is Gorveles? The ruined keep at the heart of this crumbling city once served as an arcane repository. I can use imagery, once again, just like I did with the Gladiator Arena, to see if something sparks. And of course, because the way the book is sort of laid out, you can latch onto these adventures already. There may be something here, right? These are some adventures, mid-level, high-level. Obviously, you're starting, so you might want to find some low-level stuff. There's nothing that I can see here that starts at level 1, okay? But is there something that stands out to me about this? Here's the catch. I now want to start trying to attach the inspiration and the spark within the setting of Wildemount, because that's what we're trying to do, and see if there's something that kind of grabs on to the 5 bullet points that we've already created. We have Kenku and a Thieves Guild in the stands of this arena. What environmental things can be used to enhance the fight? Can the PCs pull down this fire and now light their swords on fire, and now they have fire swords in this combat? Who is the group that owns this arena? Who's the main faction? Right? Think of Gladiator, where it was Proximo, and he kind of was like the head guy that was sitting in the stands during the first few fights. What banner does that represent? Do they represent something? Who's in charge of this place? What comes out of the ground? An attack from above. What's the deal about that ambush? Of those 5 bullets that we're kind of starting to set into stone in our brain now, is there something here? Maybe, maybe not, but let's read more. Encanter's Rest. This Calamity-era battlefield is now a massive graveyard, haunted by the undead spirits of unnameable horrors. Okay, this is sounding like it's giving us a place, a setting within Wildemount where, at the introduction of Session 1, I can say, you guys look over the horizon and you notice that there's just, you can tell the remnants of war is here. There are husks, loose, rotted metal and pieces of full armor. And there's bone and skeleton within. You can see flowers and various sticks and things stuck into the ground, sort of as respect, representing those that have fallen here. This is a graveyard. Okay, but does this Encanter's Rest latch on to any of the bullet points about the arena? I'm not sure yet. Let's read the next one. The Miscath Pit. It's an arcane sinkhole of unknown depth and origin. Its oblong opening measures roughly 120 feet in diameter. Twisting tunnels are far from lightless. A melange of I love these words, of psychedelic sights and sounds are found throughout its bizarre subterranean landscape, where strange sporadic lights can just be as terrifying as the darkness. Okay, sounds like a bit of a dungeon delve underdarky. Okay, let's move on. New Haxon. This is a place. 1,250 people. Okay, there can be an arena here, right? The Cerberus Assembly. Obviously, these are going to start pointing you in some other directions. I need to know who the Cerberus Assembly is. Okay. Adult Copper Dragon commands a garrison of over 200 active duty soldiers. Maybe that's how this sort of military gets their rest. Or respite. Like this is twice a week they get to go to the arena and take part in those festivities. And that's how they kind of give them a reprieve from the horrors of, military duty. But, look at this. An adult Copper Dragon is sort of the one that oversees this group of people here. That's why there's a lot of Dragonborn there and mostly humans. But maybe an enemy of the dragon is the thing on that 5th bullet point that flies in, attack from above. They're there to take out the Copper Dragon, while she, maybe in a different alternate human form, and her forces are off duty and distracted. See, there's something good here. I like New Haxon. Old Scary. The people of Old Scary were either slaughtered by outlanders or claimed by a virulent contagion. The inhabitants of this island hamlet. Okay. I don't know if I want to go. Maybe there might be something interesting with an arena and a gladiatorial combat that's known to exist on this island, but based on how good New Haxon was already, I'm not going to use Old Scary. But that doesn't mean I want to rule out the other options. I want to see if something sticks. Rothold. Okay, here's a big place. Almost 9,000 people. This would therefore allow, like when you have a hamlet, you're probably not going to have a massive arena there. Like you need to have sort of appropriate levels of structure and architecture. That's why, you had the Roman Colosseum. Look how big the place was, right? So here, it makes sense that there might be some kind of an arena. There's no official governing body, but there's a lot of local guild leaders, merchants, and veteran adventurers who meet in secret. To discuss things. Almost anything can be bought or sold, where the merchants are just as unscrupulous as in the surrounding Blight Shore. It's the center of black market trade in eastern Wenandia, and perhaps in all of Wildemount. In addition to the city's handful of merchants and thieves guilds, a confederacy of agents representing the mercantile interests of the Myriad and the Revelry operate in Okay. Notice how this can easily attach to The Gambling Kenku and Thieves Guild lurking in the stand. Someone trying to make a buck. The hustlers that are out here. That fits. There's something there. Okay? And you know what? I'm going to stop there. Between New Haxon and Rothold, I like this. Which one do I want to latch onto, though? Okay? And here's the fun and interesting part. Pick either or. This is not to say that in 7-8 sessions you can't use Rothold if you've chosen to use New Haxon right now, or vice versa. You can use either one at different times. But for right now, we're trying to get something we can bring to the table for the first session, a place for our PCs to start. Now, I'm going to go with Rothold. I like the feel of just merchants and people trying to make a buck, and the shiftiness of trade. And also, there may be some Assassin's Guild or someone that is kind of like Maximus was, right? Out for vengeance. And they're going to use the time of this mass gathering of people where the guards might be distracted and just the populace is in this one central place. They're going to use that moment. I think this happened in Game of Thrones. They're going to use that moment to attack from above, right? And notice how we filled a bunch of bullet points. So what's next? We need to now start figuring out what we're bringing to the table so we can kind of start wrapping this video up a little bit. Session start. PCs are attending an arena combat. Key NPC will be present. Someone offers them a job or a series of quests, adventure hooks. Okay? Maybe one PC is fighting in the arena. My microphone's right under my keyboard, so I got to keep adjusting. Sort of the pre-fight to the main event. The main event is larger than first level characters, okay? But maybe one PC, like there's a barbarian that wants to take part in it, right? So you have now like to get some terrain and stuff like that, okay? Let's do this. Remove these bullets. We're going to bold this. Okay? So, you just introduced to them. You guys are going to this arena. You heard about this in this location. It is in a place by the name of Rothold. Okay, you're in the city of Rothold. PC background. Who was in Rothold already? Who knows a bit about the who's who in the region? Maybe there's something in a PC's background where they want to come from an area where, their family owned, is high up in some sort of merchant guild, but some deal went wrong and now there's like drugs involved and it's been corruption. And Rothold is a good fit for someone of that background, right? A criminal background, right? Rothold might fit. Okay? Any thieves or rogues, I should say, especially someone that has a PC that's expressed interest in going down the route of like mastermind, right? Or someone that very disguised and more intrigue versus like assassination. Maybe Rothold's a good start, in which case you might give them a little cheat sheet of the various factions and groups that are here. But what that means is when they see those people making that bad shady deal across the way in the arena, those PCs can kind of say, hey, make sure whatever we do, if we gamble here with our 4 gold, right, because you're starting characters, let's make sure we don't do any deals with those guys. You just don't want to be on the wrong end of deals with them. Let's try and, in essence, don't do anything to draw their attention, right? Don't be boisterous and flamboyant and yelling, and don't be a stupid drunk in the audience, okay? We don't want to draw the ire of that group because I know about them. I'm from Rothold. I grew up here, okay? So you immediately start attaching things, right? But notice how we're starting to shrink it, and we're getting into Wildemount. We're getting into Rothold, okay? Let's go back. So there's no official governing body, but we need to come up with these local guild leaders, merchants, veteran adventurers, retired people, okay? Of course, the thing is that's cool is there's not a ton here. You do have these adventures, so Rough Times in Rothold. A moment of respite goes south in one of North Rothold's taverns, where the characters, along with the proprietors and other patrons, become targets of an impromptu shakedown by an upstart gang. Okay? But you can notice how it's already given us some adventure seeds. It talks a little bit about geography, talks about government crime, but this and a picture, maybe that's not it, is what we have to work with for Rothold. That's it. But because we're using that arena picture and we're kind of trying to figure out how to take the bullet points that might come off of Rothold and combine them with the bullet points from the arena, we start to find out gameplay spaces that we can extrapolate on, okay? So you'll certainly want to read this, okay? And maybe use something in the adventures for inspiration. But as we start to go back, okay, we need to detail the important people in the stands. Finally, which NPCs will take part in the ambush? Okay, that's it. That's how I've taken Rothold, and I've created 5 new bullet points considering both Rothold and the bullet points that came off of the image. So let's kind of start to really crunch it down. In the stands, I just thought of it based on the picture, right? There's an arena. A fight is going to happen here. So people are going to bet on that fight, right? Any chance that someone's going to make money. Remember, we haven't even got to Rothold when I came up with that. We just saw the arena. So we did want to attach it to D&D though, right? Make it a little more fantastical than just normal people. So there's a Thieves Guild and some Kenku that are haggling and bartering up there. And it could go wrong, like based on your group's perception, you know, literally making perception checks. You're seeing one bodyguard-ish guy for the Kenku, one larger birdman or whatever, sitting in the back. He looks like he's ready to stab somebody, right? It looks like almost a prison atmosphere. It's a little sketchy up there. But that's what you see. Okay? And of course, they're looking around to see if there's anyone they might be able to pickpocket, take advantage of. Okay. We've got the environmental issues. Okay, that's fine. That just gives us some more gameplay meat that we can use when we start creating terrain. Who's the group? Where are we? Okay. What comes out of the ground? Does that influence the fight? Does that make it more challenging? Is that where the enemy combatants come from? Whatever. And then what's this attack ambush? Okay. Then we started attaching it to Wildemount, like we talked about, right? We found this place called Rothold, which sounds really, really cool. I'm telling my players, some of them, PC background, who was in Rothold already, who knows a bit about who's who in the region. Some of them may already be here. But there is this arena combat coming up next weekend. You're all going to start there, right? How many DMs you start in a tavern? You start out in the wilderness and you're searching for a lost elf. You start out the morning of this arena that you're going to attend, this arena combat. The barbarian among you, you're going to kind of be like the pre-fight. You're going to go out there and you're going to fight. So we're definitely going to roll up some dice and, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to put a little battle mat out there and I'm going to draw the arena and I'll show you where you can move, but you're kind of confined. But a fight's going to happen, roll initiative, so on and so forth. And if it's quick and kind of dirty and just sort of something for fun and to invest them into it, it's okay if the other players stand by and just sort of watch. Maybe there's a massive arena fight, but it's still a pre-fight where the entirety of the group takes part in it. So now you include everybody, okay? But that's not the main event, okay? But you're attending this arena thing. You don't tell them specifically that you're looking for someone, but a key NPC, maybe one of the shifty guild leader guys or the Kenku, approaches the PCs and kind of offers them a job. You know, and hey, you look like you're looking for work. You want to work for me? Hopefully your PCs latch onto that sort of thing where they kind of realize, hey, we're level 1. What we're looking for is some direction in this campaign right now. And I wouldn't mind if someone says, I'll give you X amount of gold every month if you do the following jobs. That type of stuff, right? So this is where they're going to meet the key NPC. It makes sense. There's 500 people in the stands. Why wouldn't they meet some important NPC? Okay? We already talked about how a PC, some of the PCs might be from Rothold. So you can start weaving in their background details and what class they're playing into why they might be here. Okay? And give them some little cheat sheets on the various groups and factions of, hey, remember when you see this merchant symbol? Don't mess with that merchant guild. They're actually like black market dealers, real horrible people, but they kind of have a front, you know, as like being good intentions. Okay? We need to detail. This starts providing some stuff for the DM now. You now need to detail the important people in the stands. I now need to make, and notice how it's giving me direction. I've crunched all that creative flightiness down to, what am I going to do now? What I need to do now is I need to find some stat cards. I need to make a dwarf. I need to make a Kenku. Maybe I'll lay it out in D&D Beyond and actually make a level 5 Kenku fighter. Someone that is like considered a legend in arena combat, and he's like one of the best combatants, but he's now retired and now he gambles on it and he's a part of this faction, whatever. Maybe I need to start finding symbols, heraldry, right? Not just obviously what's on the banners, but what people are sort of representing, what symbols, what gangs are in the audience, where are the potential points of conflict where it's like the PCs that are from Rothold know that group over there needs to stay there, and that group needs to stay there. Otherwise, there's going to be a fight, and we're going to be caught in the middle of it. Maybe you're not telling them they need to take sides, but they're caught in the middle of this like riot that happens during arena combat. What happens if that happens, and all of a sudden people don't pay attention to holding the chains of the bulette, and now the damn bulette's running wild? You've just created some interesting encounter space. And then finally, the big one, if the PCs have sort of a little like warm-up fight, which is that pre-fight event, to allow them to sort of get their feet wet and see if they even like the characters they're playing, and the wizard like, dude, you know what, I should have picked Sorcerer. I just didn't like that pre-fight. You know, it doesn't have to be to the death. The consequences don't have to be major, but just enough for the PCs to get a little feeling out period of what their characters can do. But the real big fight, which is always going to chunk up gameplay, an ambush happens. The group can be literally, you know, like a dragon or some, you know, flying mounted riders coming in, or hell, meteor swarm or something, you know, just crazy spells, just arrows start flying over, whatever. The place, Rothold, is being attacked. The arena is being attacked. And the PCs are part of this ambush. And maybe by the side they choose, or just simply saying, let's just defend where we are, which is sort of defending all of Rothold, if they come out on top, that bodes well when the leadership, the merchant guild leaders or the thieves guild leaders, realize everyone that helped us fight off that ambush, you're on our side now. We got your back. You now have sort of free reign throughout Rothold, and you're going to get a discount on all the goods in this place. Every NPC that talks to you is going to talk to you with an air of respect and consideration because you helped defend Rothold during the ambush. And notice what that can do from a gameplay perspective, branching further into your campaign. Rothold now becomes a safe haven. It's a place where they can find a fence that they can always hand off goods to. Right? Rothold becomes a central hub for your PCs, like a base of operations. But that's interesting when you have a paladin in your group that hates anything criminal in nature. I don't want to deal with a group that's shifty and led by thieves guilds and no real government. But because of their actions. But also, on the flip side, what if your PCs, they're afraid of the damn bulette that's running around? Whatever happens, what if the PCs run? What if they go underground? What if they go into those cages that are out there, like where the gladiators sort of wait back in waiting before the fight starts? What if they do that and they run away? Now, are they sort of like considered, are they exiled from the city? Are they just hated? Maybe there's some massive guards that come in and a massive court and trial to figure out who's responsible. I think even Critical Role might have started the Wildemount campaign this way, right? Where there was something that happened in like a carnival tent or something to this effect. But notice how we've now brought the game into Wildemount because Rothold has some significance now. Because they were a part of the great attack on Rothold. So all the NPCs are involved. So we've brought it to Wildemount. We've given us, as a DM, a space to make the PCs feel like, okay, this is a cool place along the coast, whatever that coast was called, the Blight Shore. Neat, I like it. But where did all of this spark and where did it all come from? I just found a picture based on something I've been looking into and excited about anyway. So wherever your mind is going, whatever movies you've been seeing, find a picture and use kind of the process I just went over of relating and creating these bullet points. And the bullet points provide me with direction. I now need to sculpt out of foam a battle arena. I know what NPCs I'm going to put on the table. I know what little pawns or miniatures I need to paint. I know what factions I need to create if one of my players is already from Rothold, and give him just these little index cards that have a picture of a cool symbol and a merchant's guild. And maybe I create a little mini equipment section of stuff that's not in the player's handbook and say, here's the sort of black market gear that you might be able to find in Rothold that you may not find somewhere else. But notice that you start giving Rothold a uniqueness to it by saying that, man, where'd you get this equipment from? I don't know, some other D&D book that's out there. This is stuff only from Xanathar's, or here's a list of trinkets from Rime of the Frost Maiden. But these are the sort of items, weird things you can find, or maybe little common level magic items that you can only find in Rothold. Hand that to the player that's from Rothold and say, you can tell that the merchants, what is it, the guy selling ice cream at a baseball game, they're wandering through the stands kind of hawking these wares. But you start creating stuff that I can sit at the table with, at my computer for a weekend, and things that I need to print out and bring to the table. So when I introduce and say, guys, you begin in the town of the city of Rothold, and there's this arena combat coming up, boom, 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 I start offering these little handouts and all this other stuff. You've now created a session of gameplay. A cool fight happens, and we've already talked about how it expands from there. So hopefully something here helps you. That's not, of course, the best way, the only way, the right way. It's not even the way that I always do it, but this is one thing I will often do to kind of put some barriers around my creativity and give me some meat that I can start digesting and determining from there where things are going to go. This is what helps me get to my planning phase. And then as I print this out, it creates a level of professionalism, so I need to put some fit and finish and some polish to this whole thing. And this might become a little mini adventure book that I create. Notice, I'm just doing one page here with a picture. You keep doing this process session after session, you're going to have 40 pages of campaign adventure you created in Wildemount. And that's the goal. It's just what I do. I hope it helped. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care.